stand? I really would like to thank Father for the honor and the opportunity for me to speak to you. I love this topic because I really don't think that as a Catholic we understand the importance of the understanding of what being image and likeness of God is all about. So let's begin everything with prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, Son, and Spirit, we give you thanks and praise. We praise you for the gift of today. The amazing grace poured out on us in liturgy. The beauty that we find in nature. Open our hearts to your words, to your grace, and to your love. And allow us to share that with all that come across our paths. Mother Mary, be our guide as we seek your Son. And we ask this in all things in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. As a presenter, I'm a storyteller. And as a classroom teacher, I taught middle school for 17 years and high school for 10. And high schoolers are kindergartners just with bigger bodies. Which is unheard of. Now I teach adults. But one of those aha moments came to me not too long ago. The diocese has a program for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in which when they focus on the social studies history to learn about the state of Pennsylvania, they can bring their students to the diocesan office up in Harrisburg. And the archives have a program in which they learn about the Diocese of Harrisburg, which is pretty cool. And I do a presentation, a 45-minute presentation with them on what I call virtual integrity, how to use technology through the eyes of our faith, which is pretty cool. One of our schools from one of the cities in our diocese visited the diocesan office for this program. And a lot of our inner city schools, some of our students in those schools aren't Catholic. And I was pulled aside as there was 105 of these kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders from this one school. And I was pulled aside by one of the teachers and said, "See that boy over there with the turban?" I went, "Yeah." "He's a Sikh." "Okay. If you open up to Q&A, he's going to ask you, how do you know God is everywhere?" I'm like, "Oh." I went, "You're going to go to chapel?" And because teachers have a bag of tricks, you know. I had nothing. And I said to her, "I've got nothing in my bag of tricks. I want you to go to chapel and I want you to begin storming heaven. Because when he asked that, I need an answer." So she did. So I did my thing. And I was doing Q&A in the after. And I called him last because I needed grace. And I knew it was coming. So there it was. And he asked me, and I turned my back on the audience and I went, "Okay, God, this is it. I need to touch this child's life through your words and not mine." And I turned around, and immediately I had the answer. It was like, whoa. I said to him, "My hand is the hand of God, and in it is a bunch of M&Ms that I just made." And all these 4th, 5th, and 6th graders were all looking up at the ceiling. I went, "I just created the cosmos. All the planets, all the stars, all the galaxies, the nebula." And I look down, and they're looking at the ceiling with their mouths half open. I'm like, "Don't laugh, don't laugh." And I'm walking around the audience, the group of the kids, and I'm like, "Whoa, there's a blue one. I'll call this Earth." I just made man and woman. Look how beautiful it is. And his entire being jumped for joy. I'm like, yes, God answered that prayer. And the teacher came back in and said, "Were my prayers effective?" I went, "Oh, they were." A couple months later, she was in another presentation that I did. And she witnessed to the fact that music, that moment of grace that was for me as a teacher drastically affected him. So you never know, as a parent, those words that you say to your kids, especially about creation, especially about our faith, that stick, that are the aha moments for your child. Lean on the Holy Spirit. He's the ultimate teacher. And ask Him to give you the grace to guide and to lead. And I know you do that. To guide and to lead your children. So, creation, and I know that we know this, but it's good to hear it again. Creation is a major importance to our faith, believe it or not. Why? Because it answers the questions where we come from and where we're going. It answers the questions to our human heart in search for meaning. Why did I come to this? Why do I walk the face of the earth? It also explains God is the creator of everything that we experience. And that the world was created out of love, not by blind chance or fate. That God had a part, had an idea, He spoke it, and it happened. So the Word is the part of this creation that God created through His Word. And everything depends on Him. God is distinct from it, but it depends on Him. Even though human beings sometimes go, yeah, whatever, think that we're in charge, He really is. Creation reflects God's goodness and His wisdom. You know, and I was driving down from Harrisburg this morning, rejoicing in the colors, in the individual. This fall was not the best as far as leaves go, but every once in a while you find a beautiful tree that's, flaming red or orange or yellow. And I'm like, those are moments, for me, it was a moment of grace, because that beauty is in the front of our face every day of every year, but we only begin to glory in it at this time, at this season of creation. But God created everything around us by His Word. His Word. So, creation answers to questions about the origin of the world and humanity provided by God's own revelation are intimately linked with the meaning and purpose of the world and humanity. And it's found in here. So there's only one time a year that we hear the creation story, and that is during Easter Vigil. And there's two chapters in the creation story. Christian view, spawning from the Jewish scriptures, is dramatically different from all other worldviews. Okay? It is found in the first two chapters of the book of Genesis. But we have to read those two chapters not with a scientific mind, but with a poetic mind. It's like when you first fell in love with your spouse, okay, and you're describing your spouse, your boyfriend or girlfriend, to a friend, didn't you find words hard to describe why you love him or her? It's kind of like the same thing. How do you describe God's love for all creation without being poetic? And there go the first two chapters in the creation story. In that creation story, and it's one of those things where I used to dismiss it when I was young and stupid. Or young and stupider. I'm still stupid. But young and stupider, it's these ancient peoples trying to describe what really happened when they have no idea. And as I've gotten older and a tad more wiser, I realized there's a beauty in both those stories. There's a beauty in the fact that God's in charge, even though when I think I might be. There's a beauty in the fact that God created a hierarchy of creatures, and human beings are the summit of the visible creation. We're in charge. That's why God gave Adam the ability to name every creature. And when he looked at his beloved Eve, he went, "Whoa, man! Woman?" You can laugh. By ending the sequence of creation with the Sabbath, the story points to the adoration of God and the Creator as the focal point of all works of creation. Yes, we can find God in nature, but nature is only a mirror of who God is. Think of it as this way: when a potter takes clay and sculpts a pot, a beautiful pot, his or her fingerprints lay on the surface of that pot. The fingerprints of God is found in creation. The fingerprints of God is found in us. So the first two chapters of Genesis use symbolic language to convey a fundamental truth about God. God reveals himself as the creator of all that exists, and with tender love. He didn't want Adam to be alone. All of creation was not a suitable partner for Adam. We are created in God's image and likeness. Do we own that? Do we own that? Man was created, then Eve, and they were put into a paradise. The original state of holiness and justice. Before the sin of Adam and Eve, they walked with God face to face. They saw each other in their nakedness as a symbol of their beauty and a symbol of their transparent love to one another. There was no suffering. There was no death. And the first humans were different and superior from all other creatures. Man and woman was made capable of self-knowledge. They were allowed entering into communion with other persons through self-gift. These two qualities and the bond that's found in heredity unite among all human beings. I had an interesting conversation with a 2-year-old one time as I was bathing my niece. And she was fixated with her navel. She's totally fixated with the 2-year-old, with her navel. And I said to her, "It's a belly button." And she said, "No. No, Aunt Sis." That's what she calls me, Aunt Sis. "No, Aunt Sis. That's a place when God poked me and said I was done." Okay. A 2-year-old gets that, which is amazing. There's a unity of our body and soul. We are created with our body and soul. Okay? Our soul is created directly by God. And our body comes into being through the normal biological processes. But human beings aren't equal with body and soul. They're complementary. They're unique. Own the fact that you are beautiful in God's eyes. Beautiful. And that the love that you have for your spouse, the fact that you self-gift for your spouse, and in that self-gifting, conception is made, and there's a child. I remember teaching 6th grade children in the Bronx, South Bronx, Fort Apache, South Bronx. And it was the Feast of St. Patrick. And I said, I talked about St. Patrick using a shamrock to speak about the Trinity. And the union of love and Father and Spirit, and even that's a mystery, something that we totally can't understand, we can get allusions to. I said, so if St. Patrick walked the South Bronx, or was here in the South Bronx, what would he use to talk about the Trinity? Just purely by thinking what 6th graders can think of. And I had a 6th grade boy who was my philosopher. His name was Miguel. He raised his hand. He said, "Sister, you know, the Trinity is like the lap heart that we experienced." And a little back up. A week before this class, there is a large all-boy high school, 2,000 boy high school in the South Bronx. Can you imagine? 2,000 boys in an inner-city high school who came to their feeder schools and did a music presentation. And these are high school boys playing lap harps. And they were playing rap and reggae on lap harps. Yes, I know, I cultural ouch, but they were incredible, absolutely amazing. And the kids were really into classical music. Okay, so that's a little background. So Miguel said, "Trinity is like a lap harp." Okay, how so? He said, one side of the harp is the Son, or the Father. The other side is the Son. And their love bond, their heartstrings, are the strings that go across. I said to him, "What about the Holy Spirit?" He said, I'm getting to it. Be patient, sister. Okay. He said, when the Father looks at the Son, he sighs in love. When the Son looks at the Father, he sighs in love. And that sighs pluck the strings that go, their heartstrings that go from Father, Son, and makes a music that only lovers can hear. And that's the Holy Spirit. Whoa. Whoa. So your family, in your gifting and your self-sacrifice, not only to speak about what Father said about the common priesthood, but mimics your children, to your children, the pouring out of the Trinity in love.